it's looking so dangerous.
Yes, that is the area close to Kogi State, close to Niger State. The bandits coming from Niger, Abaji. The border local government with Kogi State is the most dangerous part of Kogi State. A lot of the exchange of gunfire with security operatives from Kogi State have happened in this area. A lot of the big kidnap cases involving Kogi State have happened in that Abaji area because this is the area through which bandits from Niger State, some from Nasarawa, come into Kogi State. You know that Kogi shares boundaries with at least 9 states. So it has its own fair share of banditry and all that. But one thing is happening that we appear not to be taking cognizance of. These bandits are trying their best to move closer and closer to the federal capital, the heart of the federal capital. Some communities like Tungamaje in the federal capital territory, Ungwagwalada, Kuje, Buhari, they've been coming under attack by bandits, by kidnappers. So this is a clear message to the authorities to realize that the federal capital territory is not safe. Yes, people in Abuja metropolis, the heart of Abuja metropolis, could count themselves safe, but the satellite towns, the communities close to the federal capital, they are not safe at all. So many of these cases are happening and they are really troubling. So there is a need to identify the routes through which bandits come into the federal capital from Niger State, which is perhaps the headquarters of banditry in our country. They've got to do something about that. The more successes they record, the more emboldened and confident they will become. And the time will come when they will actually come into Abuja metropolis. We know, of course, that Boko Haram fighters too have found their way to the north central, Abuja, Kogi. They are now present in those areas. They are present in Niger. So it's just a matter of time. If we continue to treat these people with kid gloves, just a matter of time before they strike in the heart of the seat of power. So it's unfortunate. Once again, women and young children, some of them as young as 8 years, 15 years, they become victims again. We just need to protect ourselves a lot better. The current administration needs to do a lot better at protecting our people. I've said it repeatedly that no matter what the government does by way of infrastructure and other things, conditional cash transfer, people will talk about its failures in the area of security. There's no way that it can blot out these manifest failures. I was reading that the governor of Zamfara State has told the people that they should go and buy weapons to protect themselves. This is very irresponsible. You can't tell the people to buy weapons to protect themselves. So these weapons will eventually be used for armed robbery. And when everyone is going around with an assault weapon, the rate of crime will definitely go up. Our politicians need to reason thoroughly before talking. The rate of crime will go up, and then you feel the need to mop up those weapons. It's not easy to mop up weapons once they've gone into circulation. You can't keep telling people to defend themselves because you have failed in your duty to protect them. You can't keep telling them to protect themselves. Every time we've seen even vigilantes stand up to bandits, those vigilantes have been wasted. It has happened in Niger, happened in Kebbi. You don't have the kind of weapons that they have. So how do you stand up to them? How do you confront people who are going around with GPMG, people who are going around with some of the latest weapons? How do you confront them? Somebody has propelled grenades. You are telling our people to go and confront them.
All right.
You just need to protect. That's your responsibility.
Thank you, Jide. Now, moving on now. For a long time, activities of the fifth columnists have been blamed for the intractable fight against insecurity in Nigeria. This may not be far-fetched. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has raided the Abuja home of the military contractor, and seized 175 million naira, $220,965, and a G-Wagon 2022 edition of a BMW and a Mercedes-Benz cars from the house. The ICPC operatives also recovered customized mobile phones, several designer wristwatches, and some property documents during the raid. They also made some arrests. Oh, we love material things. Just look at the lineup. It would have further impoverished a lot of people, but an individual that has a contractor, that has a military contractor, you can just imagine. And they seized 175 million naira cash. 175, $220,965.
Convert that into naira.
Convert that to naira.
See what it gives you.
A G-Wagon.
At whatever rate,
whatever rate, even you know when even the official rate.
We're just vain people. You know, this is somebody that is meant to procure something for the military, and so that we assist our war against insurgency and banditry. Right now, look at this person is cashing out.
For me, this even explains one of the reasons why insecurity persists. If you make your money legitimately, if you like, go and build a mansion in the air. I mean, if you make money legitimately, you did business and you build mansions in the air, that's your problem. You know, nobody's going to bother you. Now, I remember that, was it last year, that the National Security Advisor, Monguno, said that much of the funds that were given to the military, you know, to fight insecurity could not be accounted for. He said that thing, and he said it, and it went into the air. Now, this man who allegedly had all of this, stole all of this, is just one out of many. We will never deal with insecurity in this country if we continue like this.
People will be feeding facts.
People are feeding. We will never, it's not a cause, it's a fact. If some monies have been allocated, okay, for equipment or whatever to be, you know, procured.
Any form of supply.
And then somebody is having all of these. 175 million naira, cash. And this kind of money, you won't find them in banks now. They won't, you know, you see, cash, all of this. Why? So it's very, I think it's good that ICPC did this, but we need to go more after people. We need to hear more of this happening. And then we need to get to a point where we not hear this happening anymore. Meaning that it has stopped.
Another dimension is that if he gets a good lawyer, just look for one big senior advocate of Nigeria.
Can even hire 10, sir.
Yeah, and
yes, you can hire 10.
To frustrate the whole thing.
Yes,
we might not get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, the point is that, well, I look at it from two angles. One is that, you know, in things about the military, sometimes certain operations may require the movement of cash. the movement of cash.
Of course, they are not even part of the TSA.
For certain
for this emergency, because of this war and everything.
Operations.
So
there may be the need to move to do certain things with a large volume of cash. So to that extent, I may say, well, that play the devil's advocate. Maybe that cash was meant for the assignment given to him as a contractor. I don't know him and I don't have any business with that, but that is one side. But when you now add the wristwatches and the other branded items and the vehicles, then I now wonder,
2022 edition,
was it that these things were going to be given to maybe bandits, you know, to stop their operations against the nation and all that? I don't know. But the thing is that the way these anti-graft agencies also even prosecute these things gives cause for worry. See, if somebody has such a large volume of cash outside the banking system, it will not, the laws are there, money laundering. That is clearly money laundering and a violation of relevant banking regulations. First of all, take that person to court for money laundering and tax evasion. How much tax has he paid on that money? Then you can get a conviction easily. First of all, so that the man, even if on the long run, is able to assemble 200 senior advocates and all that. But at least you have succeeded in getting a conviction, or to one point, there is something at least, there is something for you to show that, yes, we are working. But you just allow an omni, just come, just tell us, regale us with stories about how you got this and all of that. But the low-hanging fruit of easy prosecution, you don't take advantage of it. I thought that somebody who has this kind of money outside the banking system, easily, you prosecute, you get him convicted. Then you can now continue with other aspects of the prosecution. But be that as it may, the other side of it is that, you see, the ICPC needs to tell Nigerians, when you say military contractor, it's just open. It is opaque. We don't know what you mean by military contractor. Was he supplying food to the military or kits or what? What was he doing for the military? What kind of military contractor was he? Because the next thing now is that this matter will be swept under the carpet and it will be thrown into a long prosecution. Then we'll not hear anything about it. What happened? Okay, what has happened to the money recovered in Ikoyi? The billions recovered in Ikoyi, what has happened to it? Here and there, there are some people from whom money was said to have been recovered. In the lifetime of this administration, what has happened to all that money? Where are those people? Why are they not in jail?
Jide, we are dealing with a complex situation here. Apart from praying that the war against insurgency, you know, we are praying that it should be won. But at the same time, what we are dealing here is we have some vested interests, people benefiting from that war. Like these contractors, I don't know what this man is doing with $220,000, 175 million naira at home.
In worse cases than this, even in the life of this administration, if you recall, there was a director in one of the federal ministries that they found more than 100 flashy cars parked in his yard, including bulletproof jeeps, SUVs. They also found raw cash. But this one is even a tight play to that particular case that
I think we're having a problem with Jide's connection there. So Jide was even trying to say that, you know,
He was even breaking it down.
this administration,
100 cars.
because, you know, the record is going to, you know, we are going to keep tab of this. At the end of this administration, we'll remember that, look,
It's
under this same administration, an accountant general has bolted with 80 billion naira.
And of course, he's on bail right now.
There,
Then there was his predecessor. Don't forget, his predecessor. His predecessor was said to have negotiated a plea bargain. I saw him returning over 6 billion naira in this administration, and the man is walking the streets free.
There is too much of free money in this system, and we are saying that we have problem with the economy. Now, the truth is this. I like the fact that you mentioned prosecution, the issue of at the level of prosecution also, the law enforcement agencies, the prosecuting agencies, they fumble a lot. The case of Andrew Yakubu is still fresh in the mind. We have cases where the judges will be teaching prosecution, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have, a lot of gaps. And smart senior advocate of Nigeria, we take advantage of the lacuna, the gaps in the prosecution's case. So this, you don't be surprised if this man, if at all is guilty, he can go scot-free. He can say that they are gifts from his friends or whatever. You understand what I'm saying?
That's what the former CBN,
if he says they are gifts from his friends, and you cannot disprove that, so how are you going to commit the man to prison? You can't commit the man to prison. So we keep having these issues coming up because of lack of diligent prosecution, lack of diligent investigation, intelligent investigation. Sometimes I think they just do this for the camera, just make all the noise so that we know that they are working. We will only know that you work when you have successfully prosecuted cases like this. And then we see people going into prison. Because if it happened that this man actually spent money meant to fund projects or whatever, or programs that will save lives, that means the blood of people that is dead is crying out. That's the truth of the matter. We can't be playing you want to bam bam with people's lives. No. We can't be doing that. It's like we forget. I think this life has become so cheap in this country that when we just don't care. We steal money meant to secure people's lives. We do all sorts of things, and people go scot-free. The only thing we reward in this country is corruption. Corruption is amply rewarded in this country.
Even you discovered that even generals are meant to be defending the country, territorial integrity. They are feeding fat from this.
Yeah, that has
we know the number of generals across
established tradition over the years
that they are under trial right now.
Yes, there's been an established tradition, and nothing will happen. This administration has less than a year to go. So will the incoming administration now gladly inherit these trials and now be running round and round with the myriad of problems facing this nation, and now be running around? You see, it is unfortunate that we have turned this country into a joke. It won't take anything to stamp out corruption in this country. It won't. Just for those who are entrusted with the job to say no, just capital no, and things will begin to fall into place. It's not about having to, you won't even allow people to even have access to that kind of money. You won't, because that is why the security agencies are there. But what do we see? Somebody can have 100 cars in his house. Are you telling me that security agencies are not aware of these things? But they can track the movement of ordinary citizens, of journalists, of civil rights activists, but you cannot track when 100 vehicles are moving into one man's house. You can't track when billions of naira are being moved into one residence, being hidden somewhere. You can't track it. But you see, we just turn our country into a joke. And it's not fair.
Okay, let me take this call. Jason is calling us from Leeds in the United Kingdom. Thank you for joining us, Jason.
Hello, Ayo, and good afternoon to everybody in the studio. Now, I just want to lay my voice very quickly on the issue of security in the country. I have to say, we in the diaspora, and I'm not talking only for myself, we are so concerned about the country. And as a former speaker did said, that it appears the government is actually not ready. Now, if they are really ready to resolve this issue, I'm quite confident that this would have become an history in our nation. Because when you look at it, it is unheard of. I remember there was a victim that said some time ago that they saw a helicopter above them. They can saw the helicopter, and the guy was so sure that the police can actually see them. So I don't understand why is it so difficult. And I remember the nation about what Abacha said during his life, that when insecurity is continued, it's obvious that the hand of government is in it. And that's exactly what's going on in the country. I'm not a fan of Buhari and a campaign for anybody to vote in him back in 2015. I did say to a lot of people that it will be a failure to the nation, and that's exactly what's going on. Now, we can't say that a lot of money being allocated is still, this matter is still not being resolved. A gentleman said the security agents have been overwhelmed. I don't think they were overwhelmed. They are incompetent.
Thank you for your contribution, Jason, from Leeds in the United Kingdom. Jide, I'm sure Jide will want to answer the question I asked him last before the network went. Yes, Babajide, I was talking about these guys that are conniving, fifth columnists against, this war against terrorists. Is it there? Okay, Emeka, we won't stop talking about this. And this government, they came with, that mantra of fighting corruption.
Of course.
And we felt that considerably in the World Corruption Index, in, Nigeria, with this war we've been prosecuting, should have, dropped, at least made a kind of considerable progress. But I don't think so. When we look at the audacity of greed.
Yeah, what it shows is that the president is not really living true to his word. Doesn't really
care about, even behind the legacy, that truly had a 3-point agenda: security, to fight insecurity, fight corruption, and to build up the economy. On those 3 points, we've seen below, subpar performance. I mean, almost, the situation is bleak. So if people can still boldly steal money to the treasury and flaunt these things, because even the obscene part of it is the way people flaunt these things. I mean, in your face.
That's what can
what can you do? Nothing will happen.
2022 G-Wagon.
Nothing will happen. I mean, those vehicles, did they fly into his compound? They were driven into his compound, and people saw them wondering, wow, how is this big man? Man, wow, there's money in Nigeria. And the poor people are looking. Then somebody goes to steal a tuber of yam. You throw him into jail. You say because he was holding a penknife that is an armed robber, you sentence him to death. Somebody steals some recharge cards or tins of milk, you will sentence that person to quickly. In fact, the prosecution will be so fast, you'll be wondering. But somebody whose hand was caught in the cookie jar with so much, that's with his hands on maybe about 20 cookies at the same time, you will still be fishing for evidence, looking for people who, and be bringing up technicalities. I think we need to ask ourselves, as Nigerians, a question. Do we really want this nation to survive, or we just want to bury this nation? Because the way these things are going, they make many Nigerians so afraid.
Let's go to Jide now. Jide, your own take on this, this topic before we move on. BKO, we are still talking about this man that was apprehended by the ICPC. Okay. Now, the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, appears to be at the crossroads regarding fielding candidates for some senatorial districts for the 2023 elections. The APC had listed the likes of Senate President Ahmad Lawan as the candidate for Yobe North, Godswill Akpabio for Akwa Ibom Northwest and Governor Dave Umahi for Ebonyi South senatorial districts after the three contested the APC presidential tickets and lost. But when the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, published lists of the president, vice president, and senatorial and House of Representative candidates for the 2023 elections, the names of Lawan, Akpabio, and Umahi were missing on the senatorial lists. This is because they did not emerge through validly conducted primary election. We thought it would take, these individuals are aggrieved to go to court, and it would take the court to make a kind of pronouncement. But INEC, in its own wisdom now, has said that, look, you did not participate in the primary election, so your name does not have any business on this list.
All right, if INEC is doing that, then INEC is now leaving to the word independent in its name. Because this INEC, as it is now, has been taught not to be truly independent. INEC bowed to the pressure from certain political parties to extend the time that their primaries should be concluded. So that gave a lot of people worry because some parties were not ready. Particularly, the ruling party wasn't ready.
At all.
Okay? So I don't see how it makes sense for a person who did not participate in a validly held primary election to think that he can benefit from the ticket won by his party member. I don't see how it makes sense. Senate President Lawan went to contest for the presidential ticket of the APC, he lost. Gosu Akpabio stepped down. Now, they are back. They say they want to reap where they did not sow. How does it even happen? But a little bit of worry I have is that, I don't know if this is true, because I also heard that even though the certified true copy of the result shows, for example, in the case of Machina winning, and the other man from Akwa Ibom winning the...
Yes, Ekpodom.
Yeah. I also hear that the names of the winners are missing.
It's blank.
It's blank.
Yes.
Now,
that's correct.
I hope nobody is playing a game here, because these primary elections were witnessed by INEC officials. They know the winners. See, let us stop overburdening our courts. It's not everything we take to court. Certain things are straightforward. Did Machina contest that election? Who contested that election? Who contested Machina? Did Lawan win? No. It's a simple, straightforward thing. So we do not only want to see the names of what are their names again? Umahi, Akpabio, and Lawan missing. We want to see the names of the true winners on the list. That's it. That's the way it should go.
Now, some people will say it's the prerogative of the political party
Yes.
to determine and decide who fills the party's tickets.
Yes, which is true. But by the same time, by the same token, justice must be done and must be seen to be done. I think the APC National Chairman, Adamu, I think he's overreaching himself in certain areas. Political parties are actually supposed to help to deepen democracy, to preach principles of democracy. But you see people complaining about him. You saw the drama between him and the Kogi State Governor, Yaya Bello, at the National Convention. When he walked past him, did not greet him, went to greet the president, and he expressed shock and all of that. So even pronouncements, even threatening Machina, somebody who was declared as the winner, you are not threatening him. I mean, if you want to exercise your power of substitution, that yes, the party can substitute, he's a member of your party. This man is not a rookie politician. He has been in politics since the Third Republic. You should be able to sit down and agree and say, okay, can we do this or do this? And this idea also goes back to the National Assembly. In drawing up this Electoral Act, National Assembly allowed that idea that people can run for this and run for this. And you know the interesting thing? Certain people actually benefited from this. Because some governors that ran for presidential ticket in PDP They simply went back, got senatorial, or got second-term tickets. But it's just that those in their counterparts in the APC, you know, time worked against them. They couldn't move quickly enough to, the party couldn't organize its presidential convention quickly enough so that they too could benefit, and that is what has caught these three men.
Jide, do you support INEC in this latest move? You know, by not listing those people that did not participate in the primaries?
Yes, that is what should happen. I only hope that INEC will be able to stand firm until the very end. I have no reason to believe that INEC is totally independent. INEC that can decide to extend the period, the time ceiling for convention of political parties or primaries of political parties, presidential primaries, because of a political party. I have no reason to believe that it is totally independent. The law permits INEC to recognize winners of primaries, only the primaries that it witnessed, I won't say supervised, that it witnessed. And what INEC is saying is the primaries of the APC that it's witnessed in Akwa Ibom, for example, Akwa Ibom was not a participant in it. The Yobe North primaries, Ahmad Lawan was not a participant in it. So you don't expect INEC that witnessed those primaries to then go ahead and come up with names of people who did not take part in those primaries. That would be going against the law. Yes, parties have the final say on who represents them in elections, but there are guidelines. There are rules that the parties must follow. Parties are no longer permitted to simply substitute people. If a person who won a primary election is no longer interested, he has to say that in writing and personally deliver that letter to INEC, withdrawing from the race. After that, a primary election, a fresh primary election will now be organized. That was what happened in Bauchi. Auram Bauchi, the governor, had to stand for a fresh primary election after the so-called placeholder yielded his position or pulled out of the race to enable the governor benefit from a fresh primary. So in this case, there is no evidence that there was a fresh primary election for Ahmad Lawan. And if there was a fresh primary election for the former minister of Niger Delta, INEC did not participate in that particular primary. So INEC, and you remember that Guinea has said it, that look, the law no longer permits parties to substitute candidates. The National Assembly members have introduced all kinds of elements into our electoral law to make it difficult for people who are in the habit of substituting and imposing candidates to get away with such crimes. INEC said something that I found disturbing, that the list that it released is not final. So we don't know whether when it's going to release the final list, we can still see people like Ahmed Lawan on the list. If that happens, then INEC will have shown itself to lack independence. That's why it's supposed to be part of his name. It is also morally wrong for me to lose election to someone. I came second in an election to someone. And then another person will now come and take over that number one position. It is even unfair to the voters. Because if the voters voted for someone, it must be because they trust that person, they love that person. Why should parties now intimidate and force that winner to give up his position that was freely given to him by the masses, by the voters, only to be replaced by someone else that the leaders of the party want? That was why some of us said in the first place, some of us said we do not want consensus in choosing the presidential candidate of the APC. Those who are abusing us, it is because they felt that if the consensus was not allowed to happen, their own candidates would not win. Their candidates lack the capacity to win. Their candidates have not got what it takes to win. Their candidates refuse to campaign to the voters, to the delegates. So they were banking on the president handpicking an individual like a sergeant major. That is not democracy. Replacing National with Lawan will not amount to democracy. Bringing Akpabio back when he did not take part in the primaries will not amount to democracy. So I'm fully in support of INEC to not put such people on the list, except, of course, the courts force INEC to put them on the list. Once the courts step in and the courts say, look, this person is the lawful candidate, there's nothing that INEC can do. But at this level, INEC can at least play its own role of an umpire and play it well. Those that you did not supervise their primaries, they cannot be said to be validly elected as standard bearers of the party. So INEC should stand on that, stand firm, unless, of course, the courts force them to yield their position. And I know that these people will not give up. They will go through the courts, and it is possible that some of them will win in courts.
Oh, Dada. Now, must these people, must they return to that position? Must they hold any form of position? You know, this marks desperation. Okay, we've seen the likes of Minister of Transport that resigned and tried his luck. He was the runner-up in the presidential race, and he didn't go back as Minister of Transport. They're on vacation now. It's on holiday. So Akpabio had resigned, and you know, he has been the Minister of Niger Delta. I think he has been he was once a senator. I think that should just take a chill pill. Lawan has been there since God knows when, 1990, 2003.
The truth of the matter,
from House of Rep to the Senate.
They should realize that this is not political positions are not what Yoruba call a delay. You know, it's not a chieftaincy title you hold until you die. It's a political position. You are not the only person that can. I remember the last time I came here when we were talking about whether Amechi should return and all of that. BKO said something very instructive, that there are people that can do it better than Amechi, that we should not just overrate Amechi, even though he performed well as transport minister. Mr. Dr. Ahmad Lawan is not the only competent person in Yobe North that can be a senator for life. He can't be a senator for life. It's not a life position. Like you said, he's been there since 2003, and then he's still, what do you want? There are several ways you can serve your country. There are people who are serving their countries, this country meritoriously, without holding elected positions. Now, if what it tells me is, if somebody wants to get to a place by force, especially by coup, I think the person wants to serve himself, not the people. I think the person wants to serve. Such a person should not be trusted. If you have lost an election or you not participate in an election, and then you want to benefit from what you don't participate in, there's something is wrong somewhere. It means your motive is sinister. It means your motive is ignoble. You are not going there to serve the people. You are going there to serve yourself and maybe your pocket.
All right. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be right back after this breather. Stay with us.
Every 1 hour, 86 migrants enter Lagos State. It is a beehive of activities. Every second counts in this city that never goes to sleep. there is always something to talk about. We go the extra mile to tell the story of Africa's 5th largest economy. We track happenings on land, on waterways, and in the air. We go against all odds to ensure that you are heard.
25% of the entire spread of Lagos is covered with water.
Ahmad, I live in Lagos.
The National Assembly is a busy place. As the bastion of democracy, it is a place where bills are presented, motions debated, laws made, and the yearnings of the people are laid bare. Come with us as we take you through the workings of the National Assembly. We take you through plenary, committee meetings, and probes, all to ensure smooth working of the democratic process.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from around the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts.
Thank you for staying tuned. In case you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout on Sunday, where we spend close to 120 minutes in dissecting issues of national importance. I have Emeka Madunagu in the studio, and Paul Dada is also in the studio. I also have Babajide Kolade Stoju from reaching us via Skype from Kano State. So, the beauty of the presidential system of government, which we practice here in Nigeria, is a principle of check and balances among the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. That principle has come to bear regarding the constitutional crisis trailing the 2022 Electoral Act amendments. The Supreme Court struck out the suits filed by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami seeking to void Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act. In an unanimous decision by the 7-man panel led by Justice Mohammed Datijo, the Apex Court held that it lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the suits, which it said amounted to abuse of judicial process. According to the justices, President Muhammadu Buhari is not a proper person to approach the courts with such suits owing to the nature of relief sought. Emeka, this is very interesting. You know, it was so controversial at the time that Section 84, subsection 12, very, to the extent that this even led to the disenfranchisement of the special delegates and super delegates for the conventions of major political parties, all political parties across. Yes. But right now, the Supreme Court said that, look,
you cannot approbate and reprobate at the same time. Yes, and which is very commendable. See, we discussed that matter here on this table, and the advice to the president was sign, then go back to the round table with the National Assembly on areas.
You know, if you check this judgment, the judgment was saying that immediately Mr. President signed, it was a fait accompli.
Yes, it was.
There was no advisor. The advisor said, okay, while I'm signing, I'm appealing to the National Assembly to take a look at this.
But
the Supreme Court is saying that, no. Immediately you sign, it becomes law.
Yeah, you know, well, in a sense, the president was in a difficult position, in a sense, which was that the delay in signing the Electoral Act was putting the 2023 elections in danger. What it meant was that electioneering activities couldn't take off until that Electoral Act was signed. And we didn't want a situation like that. Nigerians cried out that, no, we didn't want that. So I think it also says a lot about cordiality between the president, between the executive and the legislature. Yes, the judiciary is supposed to resolve conflicts between the legislature and
no,
the
don't forget that this same National Assembly, the presidency have enjoyed, you know, a kind of cooperation.
No, that's where I was heading to. You've enjoyed cooperation, cordiality, leading to what? Disaster for many members of the National Assembly who couldn't come back, leading to all of the things we are seeing. The president now going to court over something, you know, over which himself and members of the National Assembly had back and forth. So what kind of cordiality? In whose interest? I mean, what it only shows is that going forward, people should be conscious of the kind of legacy they want to leave behind when pushing forward pieces of legislation. Don't just push forward a bill or an amendment because you want it to favor you. At the end of the day, it could backfire. Like what has happened, it could backfire. And everybody could even lose out, you know, in the long run. So in this case now, I commend the Supreme Court for telling the president clearly that you cannot have your cake and eat it. You have to decide if you are going to leave, if you want to remain as an appointed public officer, remain there. But if you are interested in running for office, then you have to quit within this time specified by the law and move away. You don't just try to stay. You can game the system, take advantage of the system, while those who are out on the field already campaigning and working hard, you want to deprive them.
Oh, I personally like that section 84, subsection 12, personally. I personally love it. Like I said earlier, you see, it's a privilege to hold a public position. It's a privilege, it's not a right. Anyone who holds a public position, either by appointment or by election, is only enjoying a privilege. Any Nigerian could be, there are so many Nigerians who can be minister of this and minister of that, who are qualified, who are even more qualified than those who are there now. Now, you are an appointed person. You want to become president or governor. The law says, resign. You cannot contest why you are holding that position. Okay, it's fine. Then leave it like that. Now, this bill was signed, assented to by the president. And then he had an afterthought. Now, after having an afterthought, he should have had a discussion with the... But I also understand the fact that time was going anyway. But going to court couldn't solve it. That judgment by the Supreme Court was very brilliant. One of the most brilliant judgments I've ever read. You assented, Mr. President, you assented to this bill. It became a law. What you assented to, that means you are a party. You are a party to the law. You are part of the law, the lawmaking process. You have said this law is okay. Now it's like you are even bringing yourself to court because you are part of it. It's like you are bringing yourself to the court and you are saying what I did was wrong. So the Supreme Court, by that pronouncement, I love it so much. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in future, that law can be amended. But as it is now, it stands. It stands. You cannot have your cake and eat it. That's what the Supreme Court has said. And so it stands. That's the apex court. The wise men have said it, and that's it.
But actually, I remember when the Attorney General went on his voyage to an Abia High Court to go and seek, he got a judgment, and we said it on the show that this will not stand. And that case was about the fastest and everything. Under 10 days, it was adjudicated upon. The verdict came out, and we said it's going to be appealed. And we predicted that the Supreme Court will not allow this to go. And here we are today.
Yes, I knew at that point that the Attorney General will lose the case. I was very confident that he will lose the case. And what has worsened matters in this case is the fact that the Supreme Court refused to look at the merits of the case As far as the Supreme Court was concerned, the president had placed his role in putting that acts together. The president worked with the Attorney General of the Federation, he worked with the National Assembly, and that act was put together. So having given his assent with his signature passing through the act, it has already become law. The Supreme Court is saying that there is nowhere in the Constitution that it is permitted to step in once the National Assembly and the executive have come up with a law. For one of them to now say that this law is illegal, therefore cancel it. The Supreme Court says it does not have that power. You, as the president, you've given your assent. Once you've given your assent, it has become law. You can't come back and say, no, this law is illegal. A law that you are part of is making. Admittedly, the president expected that they will expunge that portion once it got to them. But the motion was defeated on the floor of the National Assembly because people must understand why that portion came in the first place. It was an attempt to address the extreme advantage that governors have in putting up delegates lists and all that. Some governors have up to 2,000 aides. If that portion had not been introduced, all of those people would be able to come and vote as delegates without being restrained. So they were trying to address that problem and ensure that governors do not have an unfair advantage. So Mr. President thought that by advising them to expunge it, they would listen. But he didn't realize that that particular portion was dear to the hearts of the lawmakers. The lawmakers, having seen what transpired during these world congresses of their parties, they have seen that governors were bent on ensuring that a lot of them do not return to the National Assembly. As we have seen, that has happened. But they were trying to reduce the powers of the governors, reduce the influence of the governors during the season when delegates elect standard bearers of the political parties. So for a governor who had 2,000 aides, if all of them can vote, it's already given the governor a kind of unassailable margin, an unassailable lead, whether the candidate that he has brought is popular or not popular. So that was what they wanted to address. So Mr. President thinking that they will listen to him and have it expunged was a mistake, because on the day that portion, or the day the motion seeking to remove that portion was brought before the Senate, it met with a resounding no. Senator Haliero was the first to get up. And the entire Senate, I didn't hear a single dissenting voice, rose in a wave to say, no, we are not going back to look at this act. So, Mr. President has learned a lesson from this. You can't be too sure that the National Assembly will listen to you when you've already given your assent to a particular law. And the Senate, and the judiciary, the Supreme Court is saying, no, once you have done that, the law does not permit us to come back and undo what you have done. The law does not even permit them, because the National Assembly's duty is to make laws. The judiciary cannot come and stop it from duly making laws. That's part of the argument that these judges have made. The president has no power to declare a law made by the National Assembly illegal, especially when he partook in making that law. In fact, the judgments refer to the Attorney General of the Federation as having participated in making that law. So how do you then come back? That's approbating and reprobating. That's the way the learned men, the Supreme Court led by Justice Datijo, that was the way they looked at it. You can't eat your cake and have it. You've given your assent, it has become law. You have no rights, no power under the law to go back to undo what you have done. And since if they had looked at the merit of the case, maybe the judges will have said, okay, this matter will affect the fundamental rights of some people, but the Supreme Court refused to look at the merit of the case. Remember, even this matter was even wrongly filed in the first place, because the person who filed it in the Abia court could not prove that he was that his rights were taken away by the provisions of that law. You have to be one of the appointees of the government who, by the enacting of that law, has had his rights taken away. He couldn't prove that he was one such person.
Affected.
So he was not, by law, he shouldn't have even filed that case. That is why this particular case was even described as a kind of wasting the time of the court.
Abuse of court process.
Of the court process. Yes. So that's the thing. It's a lesson for Mr. President. Don't overtrust people that even if they give you assurance that they will fulfill the...
That's the beauty of
democracy. The president to sign.
Yes. When
they allowed him to sign and refuse to go back.
That is it.
All right. Moving on now. Politics is driven by interests, and as such, politicians gravitate towards the place where their interests are well served. Members of the National Assembly who failed to win their party's tickets for the 2023 elections are set for a showdown with state governors and their aides. While many of the National Assembly members have defected to other parties to contest against the governors or their aides who won the party's primaries, others have decided to work against the election of those who denied them the tickets. This prompted the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Senator Abdullah Adamu, to meet with senators on the platform of the party as part of moves to stop the defection. Meanwhile, members of the APC Senate caucus led by Borno Central Senator Kashim Shettima have met with party's national leader and presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu towards reaching a resolution. Senator Shettima expressed confidence about a resolution after the meeting with Tinubu. Let's hear from him.
In a system where crises are almost inevitable, but the maturity at which we handle our internal crisis, our internal dynamics, will determine how far we can go. These senators are accomplished individuals in their own rights who have a lot of value addition capabilities, and we believe that his intercession will go a long way to avoid an implosion in the party. He had a very productive cross-pollination of ideas with our distinguished brothers, and I believe we have succeeded in nipping in the bud whatever that is forthcoming.
Politics, driven here. Just interest. interest. Now, in the House of Representatives, the Speaker, that is Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, actually frowned at the situation whereby almost 170 from the 360 members will not be coming back, returning. And in the Senate, we don't have the actual figure. We just know that, look, within the APC, they had a lot of casualties that could not claim their return ticket. And I saw, beside Senator Kashim Shettima there, it's a very vocal senator, Smart Adeyemi. He also lost his
after kneeling down for the governor.
He lost his bid to come back as representing Kogi State. Emeka, what do you read between the lines? Now, when you leave your party, immediately so that you clinch the ticket in another party, like Eyina Abaribe, somebody that I didn't expect the People's Democratic Party to lose a material like that. And Abaribe have gone to Abga.
Yeah, well,
like they say, the more things change, the more they remain the same. It's just a replay of what's happened, started in November 2013. That's a replay. Going back again, happening again. When Alhaji Atiku Abubakar led 5 PDP governors to APC, and then from then on, all senators, reps, all kinds of people started moving away from the ruling party at that time. This is what is happening again. So politics, is a game of quicksands. There are politicians who are swallowed in the quicksands due to no fault of theirs, or maybe due to the fact that they are absent from their constituencies, or their people don't even know them, or they don't relate with their people. So the point is that taking it to the presidential candidate of the party, yes, it's good, but I don't know what's going to happen, because some of the governors, even the attitude of some of the governors and the utterances, the governors and their aides, actually angered a lot of these people. I mean, sort of telling some of these people to just get out. And these are people who have contributed to the party. These are people who have come out to defend the party, worked for the party, and you just suddenly wake up, pick somebody from nowhere. Some even pick their children and force their children in. So it's just like a dynasty, a continuation of family hegemony. Where do you do that in politics? Yes, in the US you had that with the Kennedys, but what happened? Along the line, people got tired of such and said, listen, this is not a monarchy. Broaden the space and let's have a breath of fresh air. And now you are saying you're going to beg those people. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to substitute the names, like what is happening now in Yobe North? Are you going to substitute the names of the winners and risk those people going to court, the people who have the tickets going to court, and at the end of the day, the party won't even have a candidate, like what is likely to happen in Yobe North and in Akwa Ibom Northeast? Will the party want to risk that? Because people have spent money. You can say, okay, we'll refund their money, but they have supporters who are emotionally invested in their bids. So it's a tricky situation. I don't know how they're going to manage it.
And the governors, these governors, a lot of people will say that, look, part of the law of power is that never try to outshine your master, that once a senator goes to the National Assembly, he should just keep his head low and everything, that immediately you're becoming a shining light or you're becoming a threat or the governor after a second term might need your tickets not to go back to the house, or if you're a rep member, if you are too sure of yourself, you go to the house, you talk. These people, they want to be, they want them to be subservient to their governors. Any attempt to be independent might lead to something like this.
I look at the sky. There's a space for heavy board to pass.
And not,
if people, I understand. No, politicians don't reason like that. But they need to reason like that. Sometime on this program, I said that when it was looking like PDP was a very weak opposition, it was not even doing anything about the APC, I said something. I said, only the APC would defeat itself. APC would, by itself, defeat itself if care is not taken. You cannot take for granted these senators at this House of Reps members. In a case where you have over 70% of them, about 70% of them not going back, it's a very dark situation. In as much as we are saying that political position is not a chieftaincy title, but you need a fine blend of the old and the new in the legislature.
Yeah, the experience.
You need the experience of the that's the old legislators. That's the truth of the matter. And again, of course, I also understand that these people, the legislature also shot themselves in the foot. When they were doing that amendment, they forgot that they also prevented themselves from becoming what? Delegates. And the governors had a better leeway to unpick their delegates, who now edge out these lawmakers. Now, what I would just, I'm happy that they are trying to resolve it. They just have to find a way of resolving it. I don't think the issue of substituting names will come up.
No. Political solution can be in any form.
That's
it
what
might
I'm
not
saying.
be
They can be
compulsory.
settled,
It might not be compulsory that they go back to that same seat.
Exactly.
But the thing is that those people want to go back to those.
If
you give them an option, it is to go back there.
They have to find a way.
I mean,
not so that you don't lose out entirely.
When after having NPDP, you know, NP and then you know, that party, PDP was boasting that it was going to rule for
60 years.
60 years.
Yeah,
but if this is taken to the presidential candidate and the presidential candidate is saying, okay, take a chill pill, by the time we come into government, you represent your states and you'll be a minister.
Yes, well,
is that not a very
yes.
A very juicy offer too?
It's okay, but remember, we just discussed a topic where some people promise the president, don't worry, sign, we will, amend the act, and at the end of the day, what happened?
Jide, now we notice this every 4 years. It's not new what is happening to APC. Because in 2015, something like this happened to PDP, and we know how it ended. But what you read between the lines, this senator, the turnover of lawmakers, and we've always been saying it, the relationship between these governors and the lawmakers.
You see, governors want to make themselves stronger and stronger. And any threats, they are going to
crush it,
do their best to take that threat away. Look at Kebbi, for example. Adamwalero is the most powerful politician with the grassroots in Kebbi State. He made the current governor. But today, the governor has taken his senatorial seat. So Adamwalero has had to leave the APC for him. The Senate majority leader took part in the primaries conducted by the governor, by the APC in the state, under the control of the governor. And a whole Senate majority leader did not even score to 5 votes. That's the man who could have been governor in 2015 when the current governor lost out in the PDP and moved to the APC, and they gave him the ticket. No, he was a senator in the PDP. Then he took part, he wanted to be governor. He did not succeed. He ran to the APC. People like Adamwalero, they welcomed him with both hands and they made him governor. Today, those people who made him something in Nigeria, who made him governor, he does not want to see them. Governors are sitting down and by themselves writing out the names of delegates by themselves. I've never seen a bunch of greedy people like Nigerian governors. Never. It's even worse now. They wrote the list of delegates by themselves. Other stakeholders effectively brushed aside. That is why this turnover is so high. Already it is clear now that more than 70 senators will not go back. That is even before the main election. So it is in anger now that they are now leaving the APC. There's a story making the round that at least 18 senators plan to leave the APC for the PDP or another parties. They don't want to be that many before the APC will lose its majority. If they do not find a way to stop them, if like 14 or even 15 of them should leave, APC will lose its majority in the House. That's a party that enjoyed even two-thirds majority at one point. So it is the bad blood arising from the way the primaries were conducted that is forcing these people to feel that they do not have a future in the party and they are living in anger. So they are going to work against their own, party. Some of them who are staying, the ones who have left for other parties think that even if they don't get the ticket there, that they can have their fresh beginning in those new parties and do their best to teach their party a lesson. President Buhari warned before the primary started that powerful politicians, strong politicians, should not be allowed to leave the party in anger in the course of the primaries. I remember we discussed it on this program. And he said that in the past, when that happened, the party lost some states. The way it's going, only God can save the APC from losing Kebbi State. We warned them in Adamawa back then. We warned them in Bauchi, they didn't listen. We warned them in Sokoto. They lost all of those states. Once you have monumental crisis in months leading to an election, you may not recover from it until the election comes. So I don't know what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will say to these people. He cannot offer them positions at this stage. He can only appeal to them. But for some of these individuals, they already feel very bad. In 2018, the then chairman of the national chairman of the party pleaded with governors to allow federal lawmakers to return. Oshomole's argument was that those federal lawmakers were helpful to the administration, that they were assisting the president to achieve his aims. He pleaded with them, but they didn't listen. And that was why, when it was time for the party to apply pressure on them to impeach Bukola Saraki, they refused because a good number of them had lost out in the primaries. How do you convince a man who lost out in the primaries, a man that his party could not help him, to then go and work for you to achieve your aim of removing his leader in the Senate? Of course, they refused. And when they came back, it was even the current Senate President, Ahmad Lawan, that stood up to make that announcement that they were not going to remove their leaders. So the party doesn't always learn from its mistakes. And this time, the defections from the APC in the National Assembly, especially the Senate, is unprecedented. That should tell you the scale of the problems that they faced during the primary election. The governors are not looking back. They've done, as far as they are concerned, they've achieved their aim. They don't care what happens in the National Assembly, whether the president faces an adversarial National Assembly afterwards. They can't be bothered. They've taken those seats given to other people. I was discussing with one of the popular senators. He said some of the senators that are not returned are among the best that they have. He said, how could we in this country allow someone like Senator Ajetumobi in Ekiti to not return? How could
Ekiti, north, no, south. It's north.
Yes, he said Ajetumobi is one of the best senators. He said Ajetumobi is one of the best senators. How can we allow that to happen? He was very angry. He was almost crying. Why are we like this? But you know, governors have the final say. Governors have become too powerful in our country. When it comes to party matters, they are more powerful than the governor, than the president. When it comes to party matters, governors are far more powerful than the president. It's not difficult to know this. Even the outcome of the APC presidential primaries showed that, because the governors had their way in the end. So, but they need to be spoken to. It's not a bad thing to have senators remain in the Senate for some time, because the legislative experience is not easy to come by. In America, somebody spent 51 years in the Senate. Currently, the person who has spent the longest years is 49 years. I think 47 or 49. But the record in the US is 51 years. That is long enough. So people have not spent 4 years, you are chasing them away. You know, you now get new people and start afresh. It's not ideal. In some states, only one senator returned. It's that bad. So they can only appeal to them to remain with the party. Ashwaju needs them to win. So I'm not surprised that he has joined in appealing to them, because clearly they are not going to listen to the Senate. Ayo, a lot of these senators are disappointed in the national chairman because they felt that being one of them, he would have been in position to protect their interests. But clearly the national chairman was not bothered about the politics going on in the states. There's no evidence that he even spoke with the governors on behalf of some of these senators. He was just busy with the presidential primaries projects. And he used to be in the Senate, yet he could not fight for his colleagues. I mean, it's so bad.
We'll now be looking at what's now the advantage of having one of our own as the national chairman of the party. All right, and finally on the show today, bread is one of Nigeria's main staple, but it's about to get out of the reach of the common man. This is owing to rising costs, which may soon be compounded by artificial scarcity. Bread producers and caterers have threatened to embark on nationwide strike due to rising costs of baking materials and seeming neglect of the problems in the sector by the federal government. The bakers are lamenting that the costs of flour, sugar, and other ingredients used in baking are now out of control. In a communique issued by the Association of Master Bakers and Caterers of Nigeria after its National Executive Council meeting in Abuja, they vowed to down tools from the 13th of July. Bread. Something we used to buy for.
We are back again.
I don't know.
We're back again to the bread debate. And remember what happened the onset of the French Revolution, when the people said they could not get bread, and Queen Antoinette said, then give them cake. So, I mean, and all hell broke loose.
Substitute
All hell broke loose. So, what are you now going to substitute bread with? Because it's a staple, and it's something that cuts across classes. But there are different types of bread products. The unfortunate thing is that almost all the things used in making bread, except water, are imported. So how is government going to deal with this problem? Just have about 3 weeks or so to find a solution. Otherwise, they are saying they will just even go on strike, because even continuously increasing the price of bread products will not even bring a solution. The dollar and the naira keep having, a fight which is not in favor of the naira. So then they're also complaining about the way regulatory agencies keep asking them, closing down their bakeries and all of that. And of course, I have been, a part of that industry, and I do know that it's necessary to check the excesses of some of these agencies. NAFDAC, SON, there's another one, Nesrea. I don't know what Nesrea has to do with, the industry. I mean, you just come, close down a bakery arbitrarily, and this is a bakery employing so many people, making sure that the economy keeps moving. And then you forget that when you shut down a bakery over something that can easily be resolved, you can even maybe give them some time and say, okay, correct this, correct. But some of these officials are so overzealous. They just go shut down. And when you shut down, you now place a fine on somebody, on a bakery. You say, 1 million naira. And then you forget the fact that for the days the bakery is shut, it's not bringing any money. So that means they are going to either fall back on any money they have in the bank, or they go and borrow. And then how do they make it up? They'll be owing the workers. And you say the economy is in a mess. I think some of these issues that are within the immediate control of the government should be dealt with. Then we need to really be serious about this local substitution. diversifying the economy. We need to get serious about some of these things. Otherwise, we will just keep dancing, pretending to be moving forward.
Mika said something that, apart from water, that's every other material that we use for this, we import it. And is that not the beginning of the problem?
That's the beginning of the problem. But that is the core of the problem. And you know what boggles my mind? Last year, the bread makers also threatened strike, citing the same reasons.
Yeah.
So it means nothing has changed. According to NBS, and we are even spending more money now to import some of those ingredients used. Look at cane sugar, for example. Cane sugar, according to NBS, say import surged by 61.31%. 31%. That's the cost of import of cane sugar to Nigeria last year. Behind wheat, wheat surged by over 70-something%. Why? Rising cost of dollar would definitely mean that we're going to spend more on imports. Now, when you are spending more on imports, it means it's going to affect the cost of those the ingredients. These are common men. You call it Nigeria's main staple. It's the common man's main staple. The common man, if he sees ordinarily 100 naira worth of bread with 150 naira bottle of Coca-Cola, he can have his lunch. Lunch is made for some of the common men.
Even water.
Yes.
Water, tap water.
Or groundnuts.
That's all.
But now, if bread is out of reach of the common man, what is left again?
Will he drink only water?
So you are going to have serious food crisis. You know what keeps bothering me is that the problem is not new. The problem is not new. They complained about this last year. Nothing has happened. This year it's happening. Next year we'll hear the story if it is not addressed. And the issue of local substitution is very important. Why can't we begin to? When are we going to start producing some of these things, the ingredients that are used? You understand? Instead of refining sugar, when are we going to have our own, start putting our own?
Well, sugar factories.
Yeah, raw sugar, flour, all of these things. Why are we still importing that? Why are we importing wheat? It is well.
Jigawa State can produce wheat.
It is well. It is well with Nigeria. Let me go to. They say it is well, but it is actually not well with Nigeria now. May it be well.
Okay, Jire. We've had the chairman of this association severally on Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and as according to what Paul said, it has always been the same complaint, and the atmosphere is no longer conducive, and to even regulate the price, I don't know, it's no longer as accessible as it used to be.
Now, I was speaking with one of the master bakers that I met in Abuja. He's actually based in Lokoja. I met him in Abuja, and he was giving me some prices. Let me just go over the current prices of these ingredients and what it used to be 1.5 years ago. Remember the premium bread that I used to buy at 250 naira, 200 and then 250 naira about 1.5 years ago is now 850. From 200, 250 to 850. That is what we are going through. In Sudan, Gafar Nemeri was chased away when the people revolted over rising price of bread. The French Revolution began after people felt angry over the rising cost of bread. So if we look back into history, we will see that governments had fallen because of high price of bread, because bread is the food of the poorest of the poor. If it now gets beyond the reach of the poor, then it means that the poor are in trouble. And when the poor are in trouble, they could revolt, they could take the law into their hands. Yes. There's no reason why something meant for the poor should now get out of their reach, should be slipping through their fingers. So let's start with diesel. Diesel up to March this year was sold at around 225 naira per liter. Today, diesel is 850 naira per liter. They need diesel to fire their engines to keep their ovens running. Flour, 1.5 years ago, flour was 23,000 per 50 kg bag. It is now 30,000. In fact, they said from Monday to be sold at 30,000. Butter was 5,700 1.5 years ago. Butter is now 20,000 naira.
5,000.
Sugar was 6,500 1.5 years ago. Sugar is now 27,000 naira. There is something called softener, which makes bread fluffy, which makes bread soft.
Yes.
It was 300,000 naira 1.5 years ago. It is now 600,000 naira today. Powdered milk was 29,000 per bag 1.5 years ago. It is now 75,000. Yeast, which is very important in baking bread, was 7,500 naira 1.5 years ago. Yeast is now 22,000 naira. Going back to flour, a quantity of flour that used to be sold 8,300 naira 1.5 years ago is now 30,000. In fact, I've been told that from Monday to start selling for 30,000, but it's currently 23,000. So from Monday, flour will start selling at 30,000 naira for a 50 kg bag from 23,000 that is being sold today. So how can their business grow? A lot of them have been forced to close shop. When they close shop, more unemployment will be created. So it's extremely difficult now to live in our country. If we talk to Northerners, people in the north, where I am now, people in Sokoto, there is something called gumi. Gumi is local rice. The high cost of local rice is a big concern to our people in Sokoto. They can't understand anything can be costly, but they can't stand gumi costing as much as the price now. Yet we say we are encouraging people to grow rice, but the local rice is extremely expensive. It's now slipping beyond the reach, even of the poor people. So more and more people, more and more conditions that led to wanton bloodletting in some countries, that led to revolutions in some countries. We are seeing it now in our country. It has to be addressed. Food insecurity is a big problem. That has to be addressed. If we go on like this, with prices just going up without anybody attempting any form of intervention, honestly, we are playing with fire. We are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. This is the way I want to submit on this matter.
And thank you, BQ. And when you look at the purchasing power, when you look at people's earning, you can see that
Naira has already lost 70% of its value. That is
we're still talking about
big problem.
30,000 naira minimum wage, and that's like dead on arrival.
Some states are still even paying. They are even owing workers for months. So I don't know. And then the population keeps growing.
Yeah, that's one thing.
People are having children. No?
That's what.
So
that's
the point is that, you know, the urban centers are getting overwhelmed because people are leaving farming, settlements.
Pressure on the infrastructure.
So people are flooding into different areas. That's why you saw the upsurge in Okada riders. You know, okay, fine, you've chased them away from Lagos, but they are going into the hinterlands. also creating problems in those places. So the point is that there must be a break-even point, because this administration cannot pretend to be helpless on all points, in every area. I mean, there must be certain areas of relief, because you can't run a nation like this where there is nothing, there is no area you can say, okay, people can, even when people go to places of worship where they have some, at least they can have some form of solitude to meditate. You see criminals going after them in those places. Then where is the point? Where is the relief point for the Nigerian?
Ondo State governor is telling churches, mosque, everybody.
CCTV. Is it people who are hungry that will be? You are saying that who are hungry that will be setting up CCTV. You see, many of these religious organizations are paying school fees, feeding people, taking care of the homeless. You are now adding bodies to them. Oh, come on.
That's for our security.
What are we? Yes. What will they do?
The implication of all of this is that Nigerians are getting poorer. If I buy this thing today at 10 naira and I buy it at 20 naira tomorrow, if my income has not increased, it means I am poorer. What the implication is that Nigerians are getting poorer and poorer. Even the minimum wage you're talking about 30,000.
How many are paying?
What can you? Even those who are paying, what can you purchase? What's the value? We've talked about the French Revolution. See, when you push, I'm not praying for it, but people react sometimes. So you put someone to the wall, and you are still pushing the person. They back against the wall. What does the person do? They push you back, and it might not be nice when they push you back. You might fall down and die. The
wall can even fall on top of.
But then, this is not. We're having crisis now. There was a global recession at the time. France, the man on wheelchair, when he was president of America, and he managed the situation.
Yes, FDR. Yes.
Yes, there is a way this thing can be managed. We can't just give up and say, look, there is fate accomplished. No, we can manage it if we want. If we have the will to do so, it can be managed.
Jide, from our estimation, if we look at a state like Lagos State that, is even rated as the second most difficult state to live in the world, and, and in Nigeria, we still rate Lagos as the best state. That's the best we have to produce. That shows you that things are not looking rosy.
Yes, they are not. More and more people are moving into Lagos because they think there are opportunities there. After Lagos, the fastest growing city is Abuja. And that's why Abuja now is clogged. I'm sure you saw all of that when you traveled for coverage of the primaries. Abuja will eventually become a slum, a glorified slum, at the rate that is going. Because people are coming in, they think that the opportunities are there. Once opportunities are limited in the rural centers, people will come to the urban centers and crime will increase in those places. Crime will increase. People will be struggling for the fuel infrastructure available, So it's terrible. Can you compare Lagos, for example, to a Monaco? It will amount to comparing heaven and hell. So there is a lot that needs to be done. Fundamental changes need to happen in the way we even run the government in Nigeria. Government must be run properly in a manner that gets everybody involved, in a manner that brings joy to the generality, to the overwhelming majority of our people. If we can't deliver joy to the majority of our people, then government has no meaning. Government has no reason to be in power. So Nigerian leaders need to sit up and tell themselves that, look, the people who have voted for us, they deserve much better than we are giving them. Once they have that at the back of their minds, that the people deserve much better than they are giving them, they can begin to change their ways and begin to focus on how to deliver governance that gets everybody involved, that makes the generality of our people happier.
Thank you. I want to thank you for your contribution to Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Paul Dada, thank you for your contribution.
You're very much welcome.
And BQ, hope you're enjoying your stay up north.
Yeah, I'm working hard.
At least you can you get some gumi?
All right. And that's our take this Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. And you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30 p.m. And we're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from around the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
TVC News first with breaking news.
We cover the big political stories in Nigeria, but people want more than just politics.
Business news, sports naturally, but you need news to live by also.
Stories about education, health, personal finance, and hey, even lifestyle news.
Newspaper reviews, travel news, and much more.
Nigeria, it's more than just politics. It's life.
Start your day with us every weekday.
TVC News Breakfast. First, fast, balanced, and accurate.
TVC News first with breaking news.